Hello and welcome to Oops I Dug Down. My name is Jax and today we'll be showing you how to build a simple skyscraper in Bedrock Creative. Blocks that you will need for the build. It is up to you if you want to use the cyan or black concrete. I chose the cyan for my build. I have created other skyscrapers prior to this build, so I'm going to use the one on the right as a starting point. Since I wanted to maintain a city structure, I decided to start this building 7 blocks away from the other one. I started with the corners and sides, which create a 15 by 15 block perimeter. Normally I would dig down into the ground and build up from there. However, I have decided that I'm going to place down the curbs and pavement a block higher than the flat ground. So I am raising the base of the tower by 2 blocks so that the door matches perfectly with the floor once it is placed down. Once the perimeter is finished, you want to count 6 blocks up. This makes each floor 5 blocks high. I always like to place a block between the corners and where the windows begin. However, you can place the windows wherever you like. In this video, I have decided to do a pattern of 2 glass blocks, 2 white concrete blocks, 3 glass blocks, 2 more white concrete blocks, and then the last 2 glass blocks. You're going to want to continue this pattern around the entire perimeter, as well as fill in the floor with white concrete and place quartz stairs around the quote-unquote bottom block and the top block. The first floor of the tower done, you want to dig down into the ground with enough space for you to be able to work. I did forget about the spawner location that was down here, so I just closed it up and altered it to how I needed the space. No need to worry about the awkward hole in the bottom of the build. When the ground is placed down, it will be hidden. If you want to, you can go in from the first floor of the tower and clear out a space that way. The next step is getting the structure block. To do this, go into your command bar and type the following: /give @ structure_block. This will give you the structure block that will allow you to make duplicating the floors you create easier. Using the structure block can be a trial and error process, as you have to ensure the blocks you want to copy are within the bounding blocks shown on the screen. At this point, I realized that I had built one block too high and decided to break that layer since it will be added later on. Make sure the drop-down box at the top left of the screen has Save selected, and then we can continue on. Always make sure that you check where your bounding box is, or something might be placed incorrectly. You want to make sure the Y coordinate is 6 to encompass the floor and height of the walls. The offset coordinates determine where the bounding box is in terms of distance from the structure block itself. In the screen to the right, you are able to see if the part you want to save fits inside the bounding box. This will be what you use to determine what the X and Z offset coordinates are. You want to name the file to load it quickly later. You could use the same structure block to do this next part, but for me it is easier to use multiple ones. You will see I reference them quite often to ensure I'm placing things in the correct spot. To continue, you want to click on the drop down and select load, which is what I forgot to do it. Then type in the name of the structure you just saved. Because this block is 1 over from the first structure block, the x coordinate will change by 1, but the z coordinate will stay the same. For the y coordinate, this will change every time you want to load the saved build. I always make sure that the bounding box is in the right spot by going down one number to see if you can see the top of the previous floor. Once you have made sure the bounding box is in the right place, your next step is to click on the load option and it will spawn the same structure you had saved. Using the same process, you can duplicate that layer as many times as you want. For this project, I duplicated the floor 5 times so that there were a total of 6 floors as the base. I could have continued going up, keeping the building one size, but I wanted to bring the next few floors in by 1 block. At this point I decided I wanted to create a spiral staircase that went through the center of the build, so I used sea lanterns and quartz slabs to create this look. I then placed another structure block down to save the structure of the stairs, and I repeated the same steps as before to ensure that the bounding box was in the right place. From there, the process is the same as before to copy and paste what you saved. It was at this point that I had not rotated the stairway, so it had loaded and caused blockages going up the stairs. To fix this, I resaved the stairs to be able to rotate the stairs 90 degrees so that a rotation started going up the stairs. From there, I had to connect the stairs from the first spiral to the second spiral and then resave the correction. After that, you can repeat the process of copy pasting but rotating it to 180 degrees and then 270 degrees. This will create the spiral effect you're looking for. Once that is complete, you can change the bounding box in the save to encompass up to the top of that full spiral. This will allow you to make multiple floors at once but maintain the spiral, just to ensure the level of rotation is at 0 before loading it up again. The next step was finishing that top floor in order to be able to start the process all over again. This time I did not have white concrete between the glass and the cyan concrete to make it line up with the floors below. Once that is complete, you just repeat copy and pasting. However, this bounding box will be 2 blocks smaller than the other since we went in by 1 block. Originally I was going to go in 1 more block and continue building up, but I decided to close off the roof and delete the stairs on that top floor. I then created a light blue glass pyramid as the top with a sea lantern center. Here is the finished look of the tower. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next video.